Hello, and on the gaming table today, we're taking a look at Napalini, which is a modification of the Eisenhower rules that Peter Hunt in Hong Kong here has developed for his Danubia campaign, which is a campaign set in the 1930s. And so here, Kim and I got round to Peter's place the other day, and we had a bit of a game. I had not played Eisenhower before, neither had Kim, and so we both got on the table with these modifications to the Eisenhower rules and had a go. So this is not the standard Eisenhower rules. Peter has adapted these to the style that he wants, and you can read about his adaptations at the link in the description below, where he goes over this in some detail. But basically, it's the core rules are the same, and then there's some things which have been abstracted in Eisenhower. Peter has basically unabstracted back out again. So things like air power and artillery, as I understand it. So anyway, what we did is Peter gave us basically some matched forces, and we had a bit of a go at bashing away at each other. This was the map we were playing over, so this is looking from my table edge, and I'm the attacker, Kim's the defender. And here's a quick look at my forces, which are the Fredonia forces here. And the forces of Kim's side here, I can't remember the name, Ruritania, I think it is. I can't exactly remember. But anyway, we were having a bash with these mythical forces against each other. A little bit kind of 1930s inspired, so there's a mix of infantry, militia, there's a unit of paratroopers in there, there's some light tanks, heavy tanks, things like that. And also we've got aircraft, which makes things interesting. We'll talk about those later. So to start things out here, we deployed everything hidden on the table. So all of these little rectangles here are the dummy stands where we've got our actual units and then a few fake units as well, a few fake stands. And so those all got laid out, and then spotting occurs as things get close enough to each other. And being the attacker, most of my things get spotted as soon as they move, unless they're in like heavy cover, like a forest or something like that. And so my job was to advance up and do things like trigger ambushes and figure out where the enemy was, things like that. And in that, I had some success initially here. I managed to use some militia to expose an ambush and then push the defenders back. So that worked pretty well. But generally speaking, a lot of moving up to try and figure out where everything is and then getting stuck in to engage it. So here in this picture, this is my left flank, and there's an abbey on the extreme left, which basically counts as a strong point. There was something in there that I had to kind of defend against. But apart from that, I was making a push towards the main town and the main objective that was in the middle of the board. And over here on the right, doing the same, there was an objective on some high ground in the front here. So I tried to take that early and then push on from there. But Kim was counterattacking me with some of his tanks, which was proving rather effective. And so I had a lot of trouble fighting those off for a while. So this is the overview of where things stood after the morning turn, and everything's moved up, and I've got a fairly consistent line here, and we're getting engaged in some fighting. But you'll also notice there's some planes on the table here, so I thought I'd better talk about them for a moment. We both had some fighters, which basically dueled against each other and basically exhausted each other, so neither of us maintained really any air superiority, but we did leave the skies open enough that we could engage with our ground attack aircraft as well. Now, I think we had probably too many aircraft for what was really going on here, but it was kind of fun. And here you can see Kim's attack planes bombing my armored train and causing it some damage. That's the little white dot next to the train at the bottom of the screen there. And similarly with Kim's tanks, after beating off my right flank a little bit, he positioned them more towards the center and was sallying out of the town on a regular basis. So then I was sending my planes, my attack aircraft, into that rather target-rich environment. And I ended up bombing that so much over the course of about a day that I managed to rubble the entire town. So very Monte Cassino there. So here's where things stood after the first day. I'm in a line a little bit diagonal across the middle of the table here, and I still haven't taken the town or the abbey on the left. And on the right, I've managed to sneak some units up to a little kind of patch of vineyards next to the woods in the top right-hand corner there. So that was some paratroopers and militia up there. So they'd come into play later on. But I was trying to take, on the morning of the next day, trying to take the objectives near the town and trying to get more fire into that town. I was having a lot of trouble though, and I kept getting pushed back with counterattacks. And this is all causing me damage as well, so not so good. The only thing that was really keeping me in it were my attack aircraft. They kept just going after places with lots of enemy or after those devilish tanks. And eventually I did manage to take those tanks out with most of my aircraft. Kim was busy counterattacking me anywhere he could, though. This is on my left flank. He's managed to use some tanks and supporting infantry to do me some damage and push me back a little bit there. And over on the right, he went after the objective, which is the little marker with the red kind of in the white circle in the middle. That was an objective that I held, and then he counterattacked and reclaimed it. However, to do that, he had to vacate the woods diagonally right up from there. And then I managed to counterattack into those with my paratroopers and militia, and I managed to take those little patch of woods, and that contained an objective as well. So I managed to swap one, basically, lost one and took another one back. But that also exposed the right flank a little bit more. And so that was the status of where things were at the end of day 2, and we decided to carry on and do a little bit more after this. And while my left flank couldn't really go anywhere, I was pretty stymied here by defenses and just having taken too many casualties. I was rather exhausted there. Over on the right, the paratroopers made a charge into the road, which is in the back right corner there, and they managed to run into the observation balloon, which was taken out, and also Kim's logistical stockpiles. And so by taking those, Kim decided that that was enough for his forces to decide to withdraw, and he declared that I had won. I wasn't too sure about that. I'd been thoroughly beaten up on my side. Kim had taken more absolute casualties, but I think I was pretty worn out, and I wasn't really going very far forward after this apparent victory. And so that was our introduction to Eisenhower, or at least the Napalini variant, courtesy of Peter Hunt. And we had a lot of fun, really. It took us a little while to get used to the rules, but then once we'd done that, things went pretty quickly. We had quite a bit of fun. I wasn't worried too much about the mechanics. I was just like, right, let's just get stuck in. We'll figure things out as we go. And so I had things like my cavalry getting beaten up when they didn't necessarily need to, and other things like that. But it was a good fun game, and that's really the point at the end of the day, isn't it? So anyway, if you want to find out more about Peter's variation of the Eisenhower rules, you can check those out in the link in the description, which leads to his explanation of everything. But apart from that, I hope you found this a little bit interesting to see what went on in this battle. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.